My name is Elizabeth Janzen, and I'm Assistant Professor of Flute at Texas A&M University, Kingsville. This video is part of a series of mini lessons designed to highlight practice techniques and approaches that can help you better prepare for the 2014 Texas All-State auditions on the flute. Today we're going to take a look at the third Etude, number 23 in C-sharp minor by Karg-Elert, with a particular focus on his use of rhythm. One of the biggest challenges of this piece is the surplus of information that you will have to face and interpret. You have instructions, of course, on pitches, but also complicated rhythmic values, as well as additional instructions for tempo and interpretation, let alone whatever decisions you might want to make to bring your own musical personality into the music. So my advice when approaching this study is to break those challenges down one by one. And today we're going to start with rhythm. I think it would be easy to guess at the rhythms in this piece. Karg-Elert colors all of his rhythms with flexibility because of the tempo changes, but I think that defeats his purpose in composing this piece of music. It was his goal to help young flute students prepare for the challenges of complex 20th and 21st century music, and rhythm is a primary component of that. So let's take that challenge seriously and use this etude to better improve our own rhythmic skills. We're going to start by breaking the study down into sections. And these are sections that you're going to want to focus on one per day. So to get through the rhythm in this etude, it may even take as much as 4 or 5 days, just working on the rhythm and feeling comfortable with it. It's easy to break these down into sections because there are several points in the etude where there are significant rests. So for example, today we're going to focus on the first 7 bars, which brings us to a pretty significant quarter note rest, especially at this tempo. Set your metronome to the slowest tempo possible. On my metronome today, the slowest tempo is 40, so that's where we're going to put it today. And some metronomes will go a little lower than this, and if yours can do that, by all means, use it, because these rhythms are quite complicated and you want to have as much time as possible to think about them and feel comfortable with them within the pulse of the metronome. We're going to work 1 bar at a time, talking our way through the rhythms. Now, you can do this any way you like, and you don't have to follow the words and subdivisions that I use, as long as you find a method that works for you and makes you feel comfortable with the rhythms. I generally use a combination of mathematical subdivisions, such as 1 and 2 and 3 and 1E and 2E and 3E and as well as actual words that help me feel the pulse of the music. So for example, triplets, I'll say triplet, triplet, triplet. Or for longer rhythms like quintuplets, I'll say hippopotamus, hippopotamus, hippopotamus. Or in the second line, in the 5th bar, we even have a septuplet. And for that I say New York University, New York University, New York University. Again, you can use whatever words work for you, but help you feel those subdivisions within the beats. So let's start with the first bar. Seems relatively simple, but it can be very difficult to feel the difference between a duple rhythm, where there's 2 parts, and a triplet rhythm, where there are 3 parts, and then go back to that feeling. So we're going to put our metronome on. Give yourself a chance to feel that pulse. You're going to clap along with your metronome and count yourself in. 1, 2, 3. 1 and triplet, 3E and I'm going to do it again. 3. 1 and triplet, 3E and 1 and triplet, 3E and Okay, so I feel comfortable with the first bar. The second bar is a little trickier because here we've already talked about how to address quintuplets, but here we have 2 different kinds of quintuplets. On the 3rd beat, the quintuplet takes the whole beat. Hip hippopotamus. But on the first beat, that quintuplet is located only on the second half of the beat. And I'd advise you, while you're practicing these rhythms, to really feel smaller subdivisions if you can. If you can't say them out loud, feel them in your body. And you're going to see that in my arms when I'm counting. 1, 2, 3. 1, hippopotamus. 1, hippopotamus. So I'm feeling that subdivision, the and of the beat, with my hands, even though I'm not using it verbally. So let's try that bar now. 1, 2, 3. 1, hippopotamus, triplet, hippopotamus, 1. And repeat. You can cycle these or take a bar of rest in between, whatever you need to feel comfortable. Let's look at the third bar now. For the sextuplet, I just do my triplets twice as fast. So listen. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, triplet, triplet. And it's going to help you, again, at the beginning of that third bar to already be feeling the subdivisions, the 1 and, 2 and, even though you don't have a note on the and. And again, you can see that in my body. Watch closely. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, triplet, triplet. You can see my body starting to nod with the ands. Great. You can work your way through all of these bars up to bar 7 in this way, with the exception of that volando section at the end of the second line. That's a free passage, so you don't need to worry about counting rhythms. We'll talk a little bit about how we can choose to shape that in a future lesson. A couple of tips for counting some of the other passages. In bar 5, you have a dotted rhythm. You're going to want to go 1 E and triplet. 1 E and triplet, so that you feel the 16th note subdivisions and then the triplet on the last 16th note value. We have our septuplet, New York University, and then we have 1 hippopotamus. So we don't say the hit in hippopotamus because it's tied into the previous bar, but you can whisper it or mouth it so you still feel the length of that note. And then bar 7 is an easy 1 and 2. So I would work in this way on individual bars, and then when you feel comfortable with them, it may take a whole day to feel comfortable with just individual bars. You can start lumping them together, 2 or 3 bars at a time, until you reach the end of that section, the 7th bar that we've decided to stop at today. Once you've done that, now you can pick up your flute, but we're not going to play it yet. Now, instead of clapping with the pulse, we're going to feel it in our bodies. We're still going to say the rhythms, but we're going to start to finger along. Now, when you start adding the fingerings, especially if you're not too strong with your 3rd register yet, this is going to throw you at first. So you might have to go back to working 1 bar at a time, and that's perfectly okay. The trick to this study is to take your time with these rhythms. Get to know them intimately. And that will make you feel much more comfortable with them in the long run after we're ready to speed it up and to add some more of the details. So let me just show you, I'll demonstrate the first 2.5 bars. 1, 2, 3. 1 and triplet, 3 E and 1 hippopotamus, triplet, hippopotamus, 1, 2. There you go. I would do that several times until I feel like I'm not really thinking about it, but I really have it memorized in my body. Next, you can start adding the pitches. But again, this is after several days of work. You want to feel really comfortable with these rhythms, and now the fingerings before you start adding things like embouchure and open throat and airspeed to the mix of all the complicated issues that you're facing here. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of those like lip flexibility in future lessons. Believe it or not, this rhythm work is going to help to give you the flexibility and musical ease that you're going to want to portray in this study later on. You need to build a scaffold upon which you can put all the different colors of tempo and dynamics and interpretation. But if your scaffold isn't secure, if you're not comfortable with all those rhythms, that's all going to collapse when you're under pressure in an audition situation. So take your time. Don't worry if it takes several days just to clap out or finger out the rhythms. Good luck and happy practicing.